Welcome to Talking in Stations, the St. Patrick's Day edition. I am Matterall here with Caleb. How you doing, Caleb?
Hey, guys.
We have Rundle here, off screen.
Good evening, everyone.
And joining us today is our Irish friend. We have one. Actually, we have two. But this is actually one Irish friend. The other one's on staff. And this is Chocolaterahne. Raylard. How do you say your name?
Hello. Sláinte. Just say Clodor.
Clodor.
Is something happening today that it's important that we have an Irishman?
National holiday.
It's basically Matterall. He went out leprechaun hunting, and he actually caught one. I don't know if he's tried to shake him yet and see if he can if he's got gold somewhere.
Something about chasing snakes out of Ireland, and yeah,
they're completely infesting Delve these days.
I was going to ask,
how do you save us?
That's the Ouroboros.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
So there's a few things about St. Patrick's Day that I heard recently from our friend Abby, who's also Irish. He said that St. Patrick's wasn't actually from Ireland. He was from Wales or somewhere like that. And I don't know if it's a myth or not, but he scared away the snakes from Ireland and took them out.
No, he was doing Imperium propaganda quite effectively, really. He basically noticed that there was no snakes, and then he claimed ownership of having rid Ireland of snakes. It's really smart. It's very early hedging.
Dude,
Well,
just say edging or hedging?
Not edge, Matterall.
I don't know.
Wow.
I didn't even know.
Not push to talk.
I didn't even know what that means, but you look radiant.
Hedging.
You look radiant because you were just glowing there for a second. So whatever spotlight you turned on was like making you look all angelic. Okay.
That's the browser.
The browser.
Hedging's maybe hedge schools, you know. When the Brits banned all their practices, we had to teach schools and hedges.
Too Irish, didn't get the joke. Anyway, welcome to the show. Today we're going to talk a little bit about EVE Online at some point here. But first I want to tell you that just a few minutes ago we finished a show called Quarantine in Stations, where we talk about COVID and how it's affected the world a year later. We did Quarantine in Stations. We did about 3 episodes a year ago. So this was our anniversary episode to talk with Tiberius and Lula, who are health professionals and also very familiar with the happenings over the last year. So great episodes, stuff that I'm super proud of. I'm glad we did it a year ago and we're on top of the situation for our fans and for our friends.
It's basically our TIS real life community stuff. We also do things like watch the Oscars together when we remember. We do things like watching the Eurovision, which is coming up in May. And since we have increased our number of euros, I'm really hoping that we can do that and sit there and make fools of ourselves.
Yeah, we watched politics, and we even watched the uprising in the United States a few times. Actually, I actually even on the 6th when there was insurrection, we watched that live. We do all kinds of stuff here. We're like a nerve center of the world for ourselves.
And the quarantine in station thing was almost, I think, a little bit like therapy because everyone was just shocked at the whole changing of reality.
Yeah.
So
also,
people really needed to talk and vent and get some frustrations out.
Also today was a reaction stream that you did earlier, Caleb. What was that about?
Well, CCP has been like gifting us these past few weeks. Like every time we think we're about to run out of stuff to talk about when it comes to EVE, they just drop more stuff in our face. And they did an announcement of some quality of life changes. This is one of those, as far as I'm informed, it's a little bit of CCP Aurora thing, I believe. Some of those smaller changes that the community have asked for quite a lot of times, and where I think we mentioned that it seems like it's some of those changes where they have put them on a list of let's do this as fast as possible if it doesn't mess up anything for other players. And we got them, and one of them is actually one of the things that okay, you know the whole wormhole, by the way, and the wizards that live in those things, and they ask for weird stuff that the rest of us don't understand why they ask of CCP, and this was one of them. They wanted to be able to have more clones in the same station, so they don't have to have like 10 structures to have 10 clones. And CCP finally decided to say that's actually not a bad idea. We can make life a little bit easier for them. So they got this, and then let's see how the rest of us can actually use this and utilize it. It's a pretty decent reaction show with some very smart wormholers that's talking about wormhole stuff that I don't understand anything of.
All right, cool. So that's what's gone on today, and now it's time for some Eve news. We're going to talk to Rocket X here in just a second. I'll bring him up. But first I want to say thanks to Rocket X for subscribing, along with Roberto. And Devious Citizen gave out a bunch of, what do you call those things? Gift subs. So that's really nice of you to do that for the stream and for the people who are watching it. And thank you guys for subscribing. And also for our Patreons who help us out every month. Patreon.com/Matterall. That's what puts this all together. Besides the Brain Trust, we need the resources. Thank you. Okay, let's grab Rocket X and bring him in here because we'll use that as the headline today. Can you drag him in?
Yeah, sure. And I also need to inform you that we have another potential surprise guest showing up to talk about something quite relevant when it comes to charities. So Rain Chocolate might be joining us after we've talked to Rocket.
All right, cool. So joining me now is... Oops, we lost our Irishman. We can't continue without our Irish guy, Couture, so I'll bring him back. There you are. Don't fall out. Okay.
Don't run away.
How you doing?
It's like facing those goblins in Diablo. It's my treasure goblin.
How you doing, Rocket?
Oh, good guys. How are you?
Really good. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, that's the thing, isn't it? It's not anymore. It's like 20 past midnight here on the next day.
Yeah, you're beyond. We're still celebrating it for you. First of all, let's introduce you, Rocket X. You were somebody who was first known to most Eve players as a whale hunter from Pandemic Legion that was absolutely lethal in... it starts with a D.
Derelict.
I kept, like, Declan kept coming in, and then I was like, it's not Derelict, it's not Devoid, it is... Oh, watch your open mic there when you type, by the way, Caleb. So you were known as a lethal hunter. You had that whole region on lockdown, so anybody trying to get through that kind of had to, like, fear the Reaper, and that was you and your crew. At the time, it was it Rekking Crew?
Yeah. Like 20-ish guys at the time.
So about 20 guys, okay. But then you seemed to, like, disappear, lay low for a while, and you reemerged as an actual leader of other players, much bigger than 20. You became the leader of, is it still Rekking Crew?
Yeah, so, I mean, my kind of history goes back to all the way to, like, 2005. I've been leading Corps since, like, 2008. And I was, like, 16 in 2008. Wow. So you can imagine how that went down, right?
Telling 50-year-olds what to do. I love that.
Yeah, they didn't go down very well, put it that way. But so I formed Few in like 2010, which is my own alliance, and then kind of went through uni and wasn't playing much, and basically told my guys I'm having fun doing the whole university thing and partying too much and not going to be around. And so said to them, right, we'll go do your own thing. I'll come back when I come back and we'll reform when it happens. The guys eventually, I kind of came back, got semi-active a bit, then ended up joining PL and merged my own corp into Sniggardly. Was in PL for like 3 years. Ended up being a SNIG director and working with Graph, Elise, Headliner, the names that you'll know. Mm-hmm. And a fair few others. And then I don't know, I kind of like burned out in PL, and it just my heart wasn't in it anymore. Like, because most of my guys we've always been hunters, so what we did was kind of deployed like half of our Titans to PL and did the deployment thing. and then kept the rest of the stuff wherever we were hunting at the time. But when I dropped out of PL, we reformed Vue properly, got working with some guys in the local area, and that's where Rekking Crew really became a thing and took off from there. We got big basically when we dropped a Keepstar, pretty much, and then realised that, hang on, we live in direct bridge range of Provi, and they have 10 times the number we do. And then started fighting them, and it went from there. And obviously, to defend a Keepstar, you need a shitload of numbers. It did get shot once. Snuff came and put it into structure. Bat phoned in it, brought them all the way down from Fountain with about 100 Titans. If you remember that one, it was the fight the non-fight where Test sided with RC and alongside Frat as well, that they were at war with at the time, to go and shoot Snuff. Yeah. And we sent Snuff in it packing.
It was an extraordinary moment, very notable, and it flipped everybody out.
Well, the hilarious part is that so I actually spoke to Vili before I spoke to any of my normal kind of PanFam contacts, because that was the ace in the pack, pretty much. So we'd already made the decision that we weren't going to form for the armor timer because we wouldn't be able to get anything in place quickly enough to do any damage without getting noticed. So we just delayed it for the structure timer. But basically, Billy, myself, and PandaFam leadership knew that either Snuff was going to try and kill the Keep and lose some Titans doing it, or they would just blue ball. And obviously, they blue balled when they worked out that Test wasn't flying with them on Imperium's side. So yeah, it was a bit of an interesting. But that's me kind of history and why RC got so big anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, going back to that moment, because I think it's kind of an interesting moment, even in retrospect, because that was remember, the Imperial Legacy Coalition was a thing, the Super Coalition at that time, and so when they didn't fight for the side you would have expected, it was kind of interesting, and I think people were shocked because of that, or they were flipped out because, hey, is there some wiggle room here between basically Vili and Matani, and now we know like what that looks like on a grander scale. It's kind of interesting. But turning it back to you, you took out Providence. I think you were there having some fun, living in the region, and they actually couldn't really keep up the fight anymore and took off. So this region kind of fell into your lap. How has that been going?
So I mean, it was kind of interesting because we didn't actually take the region from Provi. We had about 15% or something of the systems out there. And they basically realized that they'd lost military control of the region, that we were we had capital superiority, and were starting to contest them not only in our own time zone, but in their prime as well, in our weakest time zone. And it just snowballed. They realized they lost control, and Provi leadership had the choice of, well, we either live here with ultimately Rekking Crew's permission and blessing, because otherwise, we could have kicked them out at that point. Then it was kind of snowballing, and then the whole war thing started. So we stepped in and said that we'd go and fight with Pappy and deployed all the Titans to Delve. So our entire Titan fleet was deployed at the time we ended the Provi conflict. All of their bat phones so they used to, generally the way it went was it would be just Provi and RC, and then Provi would bat phone Legacy and we'd bat phone Horde, and then the whole thing just turned into a massive shit show. It didn't go too badly. It was just that they realized that the game was up and evacuated, leaving an empty region to us. So we took it, fortified it, put jump bridges all over the place so that we can get pretty much anywhere within 5 jumps, and then just started making fat stacks, basically, just because we can. And we obviously straddle low sec and null at the moment, so it's pretty decent. We don't really get a lot of... I mean, we've had to... RC is deployed to... We've been in Great Wildlands, we've been in Immensia with small contingents of alliances, in and out of Catch, up into Bleak Lands, just because we there's no content just sitting on our doorstep now, so we have to go a bit further, but we are expanding our borders. We now own all of Provi, a few systems in Catch. We dropped a Keepstar in Lamar, which is
that's right.
Warfare Zone, direct range of Snuff's Lanthorn Fort, to give us some staging up there that's going to be viable. But yeah, just expanding at the moment, and
super busy.
And arming up for what's to come.
Yeah. What's that meme where something falls into your lap really quickly, like, and now something now region? I didn't have it I had it a second ago, but I forgot what it was, like instant region or something. But yeah, you've done a whole bunch of stuff since then, and including that Keepstar that went up in Lamar, which is very interesting. That went up just a week ago or so, right?
Yeah, we wanted to see if the main reason we did it was because we just wanted to see if Snuff would actually have the balls to fight in USTZ, and obviously they didn't, because they'd have been outnumbered like 8-1 or something stupid.
I think that fight's brewing. Can you tell us about that? What's going on between you and Snuff?
Well, they're looking for friends to come and shoot us, but the kind of conversation starts with how do you what's your relationship with RC, and then goes from there, right? But they've actually been, some of the people they've been messaging is actually us, so it's like they don't even know who's an RC and who isn't. So they'll message someone and be like, "Oh, what's your standing with RC?" And they just won't reply. And it's just like, okay, well, it's clear that whatever Snuff wants to do, they didn't have enough numbers. So we figured that we'd go drop a Keepstar and see if they were up for it. And they weren't. I think Lantorn went up to like 4 people, and we formed like near enough 700.
Didn't they just get a lot of friends recently?
They've got. They're working with Laserhawks and Hard Knocks.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's their friend. I mean, Israd is Israd's a small court with decent people in it, but if you're looking at like have they gained significant numbers, Snuff themselves, no. But their allies make it interesting, and they have been making it interesting for Siege Green in an AU time zone. And obviously, there's very little we can do to assist there, regardless of the fact that we've got a staging keep up there, just because we're either at work or asleep in AU time zone.
Now, Israel's an interesting group because they were also in Pandemic Legion with you. How did you and Israel get along?
So I get along with Penif quite well. We were in PL together, and like the kind of internal version of Rekking Crew in PL was called Rekking Legion, and he and I kind of did that together. He used to do the go through wormholes, do stuff far away, so like away from deployment, or we'd go invade someone and they'd camp the stuff moving out. We tend to provide a bottleneck kind of near where we were staged in general, and kind of hunt in the same bottlenecks, whereas PNF would kind of follow deployment around and go after particular hostiles. So the balance worked really well. Obviously, as I left PL, he carried on doing it, and he still does it now. I mean, you'll see every now and again, you can tell when a penis smash dunk goes down, because it's just like immaculately executed, and lots of dead supers. But yeah, a good man. Ezra's a good cop.
What's your relationship lately with Domain Research and Mining Institution, or most people know them as ARTIN, from their ticker? What's going with them? Because you guys are pretty heavily kind of coupled at the waist for the Pravi port, right? So
they're a member of RC. Arton is a member of RC. In fact, their exec is one of our directors.
Gotcha. Okay, that's well, for me that was unclear, because they have their own alliance, right? So.
Yeah, well, RC is kind of like that. We're kind of a coalition made up of smaller alliances.
Right.
So whereas like Legacy's got like 8-9 alliances in it, something like that. RC's got more like 20, and we're like a third of the size of Legacy.
That's probably why it's a little harder to keep track, right? At least for the general person on the outside, which
for sure
suits you guys. That suits you guys for sure, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the map, if you look at the kind of sov map that people have made that says Rekking Crew on it, then you'll know it's us. But if you look at like the different, if you actually look at the sov map, you'll just see random small alliances. But there is actually kind of a coalition structure behind it, and a shared command structure, and Intel and SpiceSec, which I'm sure we'll get onto in a moment, and a few other bits and pieces that we do together. But we form together probably every day of the week, most days, in all time zones. So put a few hundred people in the fleet.
Excellent. Thanks.
Right. So, is it going to be interesting to be on the opposite side? I mean, because I can kind of see something happening here between Rekking Crew and Snuff. Is it going to be a problem to have your former ally or comrade Penif Smash on the other side of that?
No, Penif was on the other side of this last time. They shot our Keepstar in Kamal, and he had to take the same God knows how many mids at home midterm it was with the rest of them. So
All right, we'll see how that plays out. Okay, so you also did something else. You caught a spy a while ago. This was a few weeks ago, and you made a very public display of kicking him. You said he was from Initiative, and you knew about things going on. Can you just explain what happened there and how it relates to today's events?
yeah, so it was actually a Discord post that I made. What you actually saw on Reddit was someone in my alliance reposting it to Reddit. So it wasn't.
I see. So
it wasn't
you.
written for Reddit. No. But basically, we had some intel that and a few tools that told us that our stuff was being relayed. So we turned on and off people's access, sent pings out, try and saw what response we got, see if people formed, watch, so we thought we had an init spy in our FC channel. So we pinged shit in our FC channel, let's go reinforce init solve at this time, and then we wait to see if init's numbers change or if they ping or what have you, and whatever. It turned out we got him and kicked him and made an example. And amusingly, it had the immediate intended effect, right? Because you don't post shit on Reddit when you burn spies. The only reason that you do it is to scare other people and either give them an idea of the stuff that you can do, but not tell them how you do it. And it means that it keeps spies guessing and makes the level of kind of paranoia. The spy that you need to be to exactly, yeah. And for example, we had. I think it was 7 people that we were watching that we knew were relaying, and out of the 7, 4 of them pulled their relays and changed their Discord logins to reset their tokens.
That's funny. So do you watch? Do you sometimes leave spies in and watch their behavior over time, or as soon as they're detected, do you kick them?
We don't. It depends what it is and if it's like an immediate threat. If it's something that's in a secure channel, then they go pretty quickly. If it's someone that's not, then we leave them and then send them fake pings. Like they'll get pings that no one else gets, and they'll wonder what's going on. Obviously, nothing's going on, but they don't know that. They don't realize they're the only one getting the ping. So it's quite fun to kind of lead them on a merry-go-round and play that game. But when you know you have a spy, you can use it against people, right? When you don't know or you're not sure, then you have to act like you have spies anyway. But when you know for sure that you have one, you've got control of the situation again.
Which is what you did by leaking wrong information out.
Yeah, repeatedly. We had no intention of going reinforcing it in itself. Like, we don't give a shit, right? They can do what they want. But they went for it. They reacted to it, and they burned him.
Awesome. All right, so something came up today. I haven't looked into it. I just saw it in my news feed that gets people put in information into a news feed at Talking In Stations. We have a bunch of people that go out and get information, and they kind of pile it in. And I've been away, so I wasn't really able to read this. But something happened today. Can you tell us what it was about you and another spy?
Yeah. So. This one didn't get kicked before he managed to do anything. Basically, this guy cropped up like a couple of weeks ago over something else. So we've been watching him since. Got some more intel about 2 p.m. Eve time yesterday afternoon that something was going on. RC Command executives and director teams looked into it throughout the course of the night last night, confirmed it this morning, and asked the CEO to kick him. And the CEO didn't get back to us for like 7-8 hours, and in that time the guy logged in and transferred a load of that corp's structures to an alt corp. The losses that we've seen at the moment, somehow, I don't know how, and I never give anyone director access in my corps, but this guy had full director access, so he was able to transfer and basically empty a lot of the hangars.
From your corp?
No, from my corp. It's this is a corp within an alliance that's within Rekking Crew.
I see. You were showing yourself as a contrast, as an example of what you don't.
I never give direct roles, but this guy had that trust thing. So they transferred. I think it was like about 18, 19 structures, something like that, including like 1 faction fort and 4 or 5 normal ones, something like that. Which are now reinforced because we're killing them. They tried to ransom them, but we don't really, whatever. They're just going to die. They're already reinforced. So we're just cleaning up and moving on quickly. Apparently, so the estimated loss from the corp, from what I'm hearing, is like around about 100 bill in BPOs. And I don't know what else has gone, but apparently there was no kind of heavy ship caches, no caps or anything like that. They also pulled the fits from the structures as well, as far as I'm aware, or maybe some of, at least the ones that he pulled the fit. The expensive one was that he pulled the fit from the Satoyo in one of our staging systems, and also the clones as well. So probably a few clones got popped.
Yeah.
There was on the Reddit post, it says 350 bill. I'm not really sure where that figure came from. I don't know if it's, I mean, it could be accurate, but I don't think it's that high from what I can tell at the moment. And a lot of it they can't sell anyway because it's in structures.
Is this a turncoat or an actual spy?
It's an.
You got cut out there, I think.
Didn't they also get some blueprints, or is that fake news?
The BPOs.
Mm.
The Titan BPOs that are on the Reddit post, they're not real. They're not ours. I mean, they probably are real in game, but they're not ours. No, that corp doesn't have any Titan BPOs. I'm sure they wish they did, but maybe not right now, but for sure. Yeah, those BPOs aren't legit from what I can tell. There are some cap component BPOs in there, but it was mainly the cache was mainly designed for building like freighters and dreads and whatever. There was no real. We've not built supers for like a year and a half because like you'd be dumb to build supers right now because it'll cost you like 105 bill to build an Erebus and they sell for like 80. So there's no Titans in build because we'd literally be it would cost us money to build them, like to the tune of like 20 billion a hull. So as far as I know, nobody was building. If they were building there, they were a moron because they were throwing away ISK. But as far as we know, nothing significant was building in there.
Was it an old spy character, or that's been there for a long time?
He'd been in like 8 months, and he got given direct access. But this is the thing. So RC wise, on our auth and all our kind of comms and integrations and stuff, the guy was like a line member. The spy was a line member, had no real significant access. But the leader of that corp, the CEO, trusted the guy and gave him director access, but none of us knew he had director access. So when we were doing the whole kind of like he needs to go sort of thing, no one knew he had director roles except for the CEO. And obviously we messaged the CEO and was like, kick him.
So it wasn't really urgent for you necessarily because you didn't know how much access he had.
We didn't know that he had director access because why would an 8-month-old character in one of the bigger corps in that alliance have director roles? So none of us assumed it would be as serious as it was. But the CEO has had a rough time IRL lately and has been out of town, largely pandemic related, unfortunately. But yeah, not ideal.
Feel bad, spy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a game, isn't it? It happens, and that's what EVE is.
Yeah.
But the CEO himself was been intending to take some time out since probably the middle of Feb because some drama. If you remember, the previous spy we kicked, Gideon, was actually a close friend of the CEO himself. So that kind of like blew a hole in his whole trust thing, and this is kind of like he's done and he needs to walk away for a bit. That's fine.
Mm. Oh wow! So same corporation.
Believe so, yeah.
Wow. Sorry, I lost my question. I did hear from Imperium that Gideon, the first spy that you kicked, and it got to be public, and then you pointed a finger at Initiative. I did hear from Imperium that he wasn't actually a spy. So do you have are you concrete on?
Well, I mean, so part of the way that he actually got burned was because he was a fucking moron. And I say that because he was in our FC channel in Mumble, and we had I had a character in Init comms as well. So I've got my laptop next to me on Init comms in one ear and my headset on my head with the other ear.
Oh my gosh.
And he was relaying our FC channel to their comms. So I heard my own voice come through enemy comms. And then I was like, well, that's odd. So I moved him out of the FC channel, and then the relay died. So obviously, smoking gun, right?
That's
that's
pretty
before
clear.
that's before we look at all the other evidence we had, and like the fact that Darkshines basically confirmed it to me afterwards.
Oh, okay.
That's the weirdest story of audio feedback. So basically, when you're playing EVE Online, you have to first check if it's your audio setting, and then if it's your spy network.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, I literally play with. I don't have like a proper like headphones, right? I have like a customer service headset type thing, and it's plugged into my PC, and my laptop runs a VPN, and I use earphones for that. So I've got like a mono headset, one ear and one earphone in the other, which it isn't great for SCing, I won't lie. It's fucking like massively, you get screwed in the head, right? If you've got two different streams of audio, plus like whatever you're looking at on your screen, right?
Yeah, I don't know how you multitask so well.
Well, I mean, sometimes I don't, believe it or not.
All right. Well, Rocket, thanks a lot for telling us what went on here. If you want to stick around, we're going to talk to Rain next. Caleb, introduce Rain and tell us what's going on.
I think I will let Rundle do that.
I can jump in.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, no problem. So, I was on Trash Talk Tuesday last night, and Rain Chocolate's on there a lot, and Rain's got lots of people who know her, and she does lots of good things. I know that she's continually doing things for charities, and so she has a really good charity. So I figured, I thought it would be really nice to bring her on and let her tell people, kind of who she is a little bit, and then tell a little bit about the charity that she's working with right now for the next few days. I just thought it was worthwhile. So welcome, Rain. If you want to give us a quick little overview, I know a lot of the people know who you are, but for those who don't, please let us know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi. I'm Rain. I've been playing since 2014. Started out in Pizza Coalition. Great bunch of folks there. They all rage quit the game, and I went to Low Sec Solo PvP, where I started streaming for about 3 years. Graduated from that to flying with Black Legion for a year, and now I'm in Pandemic Legion for the last 2 years. And I currently, instead of flying with Pandemic Legion, I more do war reporting on my streams, as well as raising money for charity.
Great. And so what about the most recent charity? Maybe we can talk, actually tell us a little about maybe some of the other charities first, and let's go into the most recent one. Because you've done this for a while. This isn't just something like you decided yesterday, hey, I'm going to do a charity, right?
Yeah, so part of my thing was streaming, so I have a pretty nice day job. So streaming to me is a hobby. It's not really anything to make money from. But as part of, being Twitch, like being a Twitch partner as well, the fact that, there's a way to make money. So I either have to accept the fact that stuff comes in or just kind of disappears into the void. So what I've done was I decided to use my platform to raise money for charity. So I've done various charities in the past. So last year was raising money for the Australian Red Cross to help with the wildfires. I've raised money for local like animal shelters here. I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I've raised money for the JDRF, which helps type 1 diabetes research and prevention. So I've done just a lot of various charities from all over. A lot of them will be more global, some overseas, and then some local, like right in my town.
Great. And this one here is a little more closer to gaming in general. So can you tell us about the current one? Go through the details, and I think Matt can.
Do you have a link?
Yeah, the link is in.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the link is in the podcast. Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
can link it for it. I was just going to set you up. Matterall can then give the link to everyone listening. No problem. So, Rain, give us a little overview of what's the current one.
This is Ablegamers. So Ablegamers is a 501c3 charity. They do a lot of fundraising to be able to create and build custom controllers for those with disabilities. Many folks with a disability either can't use their hands, or maybe they're missing a hand, or functionality of like their fingers and being able to press on the keyboard and mouse and controller, all the way up to people who just fully can only use maybe like their mouth or their eyes, and so they have controller functionality with both of those. So being able to like control a mouse with being like, I would say like a straw, like a blowing and sucking to move the mouse, like Gommel Knox, an Eve player, has used before. So all of their funding goes towards raising money for controllers, and then they give those controllers to people with disabilities for free. And it's not just creating a controller, like mass producing it and sending it out. They actually work with folks with disabilities to figure out what exactly the disability is, like what's the range of motion. What do they prefer to use? Do they actually prefer to use their hands if they have them, or do they prefer to use something else to fully build those tools and being able to give it to them? They also do a lot of advocacy for disability options within games. So the easy example I always throw out there is like colorblind options or subtitles for those who are hard of hearing. Someone else pointed out to me that apparently field of view is also a disability option. I never realized that. So being able to zoom your camera out from a game you play so that you may not get motion sick. A lot of these things, folks like us probably may utilize and take advantage of, but we never realize it. So, like EVE Online, everyone probably remaps their hotkeys to something different, especially like broadcasting for reps is like the easiest one. Those actually help those with disabilities be able to actually play games because then they're able to remap a traditional keyboard and mouse to something that can be more utilized for someone with disabilities.
And this charity goes beyond just EVE Online, but you're bringing it to EVE with your you're doing a streaming event, right? I want to give us a few details of kind of what you're doing to support this charity over the next few days.
Yeah, so I've worked with Ablegamers in the past, and so their chief operating officer, Stephen Spawn, actually reached out to me, and for his 40th birthday last September, he was wanting to raise $1 million for Ablegamers. So what he's having folks like myself and others do is create campaigns under, I'll say Tiltify. So Tiltify is a donation page that gives all the money directly to the charity so that folks like me, it doesn't go into my PayPal and then I have to transfer. It goes directly to the charity. So it offers that safety for donators. And so he has a massive campaign up for, like, literally the goal is $1 million. He's right at 300,000 right now. So in a month or in 6 months, he raised 300,000. And so folks like me are going from this weekend, so the 19th through the 21st. So that's the Friday through the Sunday, and just streaming, trying to raise money. Maybe not just raise money, but also to bring awareness and kind of talk about, gaming with folks with disabilities and being more like conscious of the fact that, not everyone you play games with may be fully able to play games, like especially subtitles or in EVE where we're expecting everyone to talk. There are a lot of players who just simply, can't speak. And so being able to type quickly on a keyboard and whatnot is super useful. So I have about half a dozen at least streamers partaking. So it'll be myself, Urschlag, Scottish Dex, and Sutonia. We're all going to be streaming EVE. And then Ron is on there as well, but Ron is streaming at his normal time. So he doesn't have like a specific time slot. He will be streaming all weekend per usual. But then we also have folks not streaming EVE. So that's Drayden, Liara, and Manic. They're all going to be playing, but they won't be streaming EVE. So if folks don't like watching EVE, they have, other streamers to support and partake in. So I'm actually coming up with a news post article about it right now, so that way folks have an easy place to find individuals streaming, as well as to find the link, because I know, like, I think you guys posted it in chat, but sometimes it can be kind of intimidating to figure out where exactly you're donating to, and how does, like, if you want to have a message or if you want to donate towards a goal, like how that all demonstrates on streams and whatnot.
And these donations go right to Ablegamers charity directly, right? There's no middle ground on this one. So if you donate, it's going right to them.
Yeah, so Tiltify. So in the past, sometimes PayPal, you can register a charity in PayPal. So like Ablegamers can have a PayPal, but PayPal takes a pretty decent chunk in fees, even with charities. So Tiltify really minimizes those fees, and then it allows the trust of being able to donate directly to the charity. So like, I think the only other option, if you want to donate to the charity, is actually going on Ablegamers' website and donating through there. But if you do that, it doesn't count through Tiltify. Like, Tiltify doesn't read it. And so Tiltify allows streamers to be able to show the progress. Maybe there's certain milestones or goals that people want to reach for challenges. And it demonstrates that without, charging 5% or more of an overhead fee just to be able to donate to the charity.
That's really good. So, I think I'm really happy that you brought it up last night. I like charities like this. I like enabling, people to enjoy whatever game. I love gaming, and I have a soft spot for this type of charity. So, I was challenging the people listening on Trash Talk Tuesday last night to donate whatever they can. You have a limit of $1,000, and I think basically last night we got you halfway. And if I understand correctly, you can raise that limit over time, but
Yes.
instead of setting like a crazy high limit and missing it, you wanted to be able to step into it. So, if people are listening here to Talking Stations, and you can spend a few bucks, spare a few bucks to help some folks and help Rain hit that target, I would challenge you to do so.
And so the 1,000 goal is like kind of my own personal goal. I think Redline said he would try to match the 1,000. And I think he was going to confirm it. But Dominarch is in chat, and both Dominarch and Redline agreed on Trash Talk Tuesday that if we reach like 5,000, they would shave their heads. So that's like a way to entice people, right? But if I like you're saying, if I have it outrageously high, like at 30,000, and then they set the goal there at 5,000, then it becomes, like why is it, that confusion?
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Well, those are kind of my questions. I wanted to make sure that because I think you have lots of really good background, and the charity's really good. Maybe I don't know, Matterall or Caleb or Clotur have any questions or?
Clotur?
I only want to know what Rain has been doing all through this war, if she's actually been participating.
Is that
in any way.
where have you been all my life, Rain kind of
Yeah,
moment?
exactly. It is. Where have you been all my life, Rain?
Yeah. So Caleb, you're European time zone, but for a while I've been streaming. Besides when work picks up, I've been just streaming it. It's been a lot of fun. Like, I think the first sort of like real attempt, I don't know if I'd call it attempt, but the ringing of the dinner bell and M2 tech, like I was streaming that for like, God, it felt like 10 hours or something, where Pappy started to try and get supers out, and then they weren't getting stopped, so they just continued to shoot bubbles and get supers out. I was streaming that. Streamed a couple other things too. Trying to remember like a lot of the Keepstar timers sometimes.
Well, you were streaming way back at the beginning of the war. You were showing Fountain when it was being breached, basically, by the Pappy forces early on. I think you were with Satonia too. I think you probably teamed up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was like when there were like a lot of folks streaming. So it was like myself, Ron, Sutonia, Jebby. Like there are a lot of us streaming, and we were able to like really kind of. It was nice because we all had different like work/sleep schedules, so we were able to kind of pass the intel along to everyone, and it was pretty great. Now that the war's kind of slowed down and it's more focused in one specific area, it's a lot easier to stay up to date. I know right now Peppy's just been structure grinding. There doesn't seem like there's been a lot of like big fights happening. It's I feel like the war's kind of numbed the entire like EVE community. Like if you have a kill mail, or not kill mail, excuse me, a battle report that's less than 100 billion, like nobody cares.
I'll tell you the truth. We were supposed to do a lot of coverage early on, and we were arranging ourselves, and Sully came aboard, and we started like just kind of getting prepared. And then I looked and I saw you streaming, saw Ron streaming. I didn't remember if it was Jebby was streaming. I saw Sutonia streaming, and I was listening to you guys, and I was like, we don't need to stream anything. These guys have it totally down, and we can't do a better job. We are incapable. So we actually chickened out.
Well, no, like that's fair, but like Talking Stations does really well at like bringing people on to discuss. Like I love streaming fights live and commentating on them, but I'm never gonna have Villy or Headliner or Mitani on my stream to talk to me about things. I'm just gonna commentate it. Yeah, I'm just gonna commentate it live, and then if something happens, people will come into Twitch chat and tell me I'm wrong, and then I can update with the latest information. Like that's why I enjoy it. I feel like I learn a lot and can demonstrate it. Whereas I feel Talking in Stations does really well because you guys don't sit there and do play-by-plays of what's happening. You guys sit there and break it down more analytically. Just say like, hey, here's why this is happening. Let's bring someone on and the decisions that they're going through and making, like strategies in this fight.
We should do some sort of chair hopping between all the streamers, so we can mix it up a little bit and hand over the baton, as Rain pointed out. That it's nice when you have something like a 13 hours fight. Maybe you can take a break and then drop in on one of the other streams and say hi, and then go have dinner and stuff like that.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
You did announcing for the Alliance tournament, didn't you?
Yeah, I've done Alliance tournament commentary, both player run and AT 15 and 16.
Yeah, so it was natural for you to depict what's going on screen, because I think a lot of people hear about EVE Online. They hear about the exploits of someone like Rocket X and the remarkable things that they plan and execute. But then they watch it and they're like, I don't know what to make of this, heads or tails. It's like blue dots, red dots. It takes someone to describe what's happening, and that's what you do.
Yeah, for sure. That was one of the reasons I got into tournament commentary, because I was streaming all of the fights up to World War B1. So back when like goons were getting blobbed in low sec and all this and that. And then like the weekend right before MTECO, I think it was MTECO, I was streaming those, and I was like, it was literally like, hey, look, there are these ships. I don't know what they do. And then like Twitch chat was like super chill and helping me, and like they would be like, oh, these ships are doing this reason, blah blah blah. And like that's where I really started to learn, and that kind of gave me the drive to do Alliance tournament work, or just tournaments in general, I should say.
Yeah.
So Empower brings it up. Tell us a little bit about the weather reports. Those are the ones I've watched most of those, or come across them anyways. I like those. Are you still doing them? Tell us about the weather reports.
Oh my gosh. So I reported on the weather for like 4 months straight every single day before I finally just like burned out. It was like the weekend between Christmas and New Year's, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have to log into Eve today. I'm just gonna coast. And so when I'm in game, the weather, like the storms move so slowly that I can literally miss a week and still track where they are and what they're doing. Like it's not that confusing with just the 8 of them, and with them moving like every 1 to 3 days. So, but yeah, the storms, they've I'm actually really impressed, because we had 2 in Delve, and they seem to have somewhat of an impact, but not as dramatic as I thought it'd be. Like I thought we would be seeing comp changes, or like with the Gamma Storm, people not flying Logi or not bringing Logi. But it seems like some of it, like with the bugs on like the electrical storm, people could still cloak sort of situation, which was kind of frustrating. But for the most part, yeah, it's pretty much myself and then Eve Scout who are tracking the storms. And like I mean I still have a spreadsheet of all the history of me ever tracking it. But yeah, unless CCP does something to change them, I don't think there's really a need to, like, you can't it's very difficult to forecast them more than a couple days out. But then it's also like there's not much value in updating it every day either.
Oh, that's funny. Do you do forecasts? Like, do you look at the map and say, it can't go that way, it can't go this way, it's likely to go this way? That's awesome.
So, like, when on my stream, I used to have like a ticker, and I would actually track of based on where it was, right? Because it normally shouldn't ever backtrack, so I would track where it should be going next. And for the most part, I was pretty accurate, so it was pretty fun.
I wonder if anyone said, okay, put the shutters up. We're going to have an electrical storm here. Cloaky camping's off for a week. Funny.
Yeah, I haven't noticed that. The one thing I have noticed is if they, especially the exotic storms, because they increase mining, if they go near like low sec or high sec, I definitely notice the activity is a little bit higher in those spaces. So I think that's pretty great that there are at least other players who do more Care Bear type activities paying attention to them.
All right, for both of you advanced players, I'm looking at you, Rain and Rocket X. What's your favorite new change to the game, and tell us about why it's your favorite?
Oh gosh, let me think.
I'm putting you on the spot. Yeah, I didn't prep you for this.
Rocket also dropped, by the way. He probably went to bed.
Oh, did it? Yeah, it's late his time. Sorry. Here I am talking to him. Couture, are you asleep?
Just as veteran, I think, as well. She said she started 2014. I'm 2015.
Oh.
I don't know. The best change. There hasn't been a good change in a pretty long while, in my opinion.
Is there a new mechanic or anything? Do you guys like Marauders? Do you like what they did with them?
I
thought I was asking an easy question, but I guess it's not that easy because there's so many.
I do like the fact that the community has been like screaming for a year about the red dots, and CCP finally removed them. Like I would demonstrate on stream my empty ship. It would have a red dot. I would click it, clear it, and then it would just magically show up again. And it was like so beyond frustrating, and I'm glad CCP finally changed that.
This came up earlier in a previous public Discord, but like people have been screaming about other things for considerably longer amounts of times than a year for a shitty red dot. Cloaky camping for, a random example.
Well, a red dot's a little easier to fix.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a difference in how you go about fixing cloaky camping without making the entire game rage.
Yeah, a little different dev time involved in both those. And
no, I'm just saying, a year is not that long to wait for a feature change in EVE Online.
Don't worry, I've been waiting for Logi on kill mails too.
I hear that's coming.
For a while.
It's Or maybe I haven't heard it's coming, but it feels like there is something going on with kill mails soon. I think. I don't know.
Was that not something they said at
Ron, thanks for
FanFest
stream.
like 2018?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, Matterall, did you hear like some NDA leaks and you're just trying to pass it off as, oh, haha, I didn't
Don't
really
put me
hear
on the
that?
spot, Ray. Don't put me on the spot.
Oh, dude, all I ask, like, I feel like if they were putting Logi on kill mails and it got leaked, I feel like nobody should get punished for that. It would be like
Yeah.
the biggest calm to the community ever.
I'm not saying that it's an NDA leak or that I heard anything from any player or staff member at all. But there is a sense that something is coming. And the example I heard was like logistics is always at the top of that list. Like show logistics on kill mail so they can get points for participation as far as pointing at something, right? Because it's so funny for those that aren't that acquainted with EVE Online. When you're applying to a corporation, it's like applying to an actual corporation. You have to prove that you have a track record, and depending on the corporation, some will just take you up no matter what. You'll be invited in, but some are selective, and those want to see what you've done, and they look at your kill board as part of that. And when it's blank, the answer is always, "I'm a Logi pilot. I don't shoot things. I just repair people who are getting shot." And so it's kind of a meme to say, "Hey, I'm a Logi pilot."
But it is a massive lapse from CCP that we don't have this, to be honest, right? It's such a big thing in other games when you're talking about healing and support. The fact that we don't have it is just, I think, it's almost sad.
Yeah.
It's
every other
difficult.
MMO, right? The equivalent in the other MMOs would be, let's take some sort of fantasy-based one where you go on a raid and there's some sort of random draw for the loot after killing a boss, but healers aren't included because they didn't do any damage,
Which
right?
is a joke,
And so
right?
every healer isn't even eligible for the raid gear or the high-end gear, right? That's in essence what it's kind of equivalent to. They're just not counted in the process.
And it's just sad because it is so important to have a really good healer and in other games, and they get status for being as good as they are. And the fact that we don't really have that capability in EVE is just it's downright dumb because it is just as important in EVE. If you are excelling at what you do, it should be something that can be measured and shown. And the fact that we can't is just
the holy trinity of gaming is alive and well in EVE, right? That's the tank, the damage dealer, and the healer, right? There's your holy trinity, and it's here in the game as well. It happens. They've expanded on it with all the other variations of the ships and stuff, but that core is there.
I was gonna say, I think it's more than just like the kill mail bragging rights too. Like kill mails are such a huge source of intel, and like you can see that from like literally every other reason people use kill mails, right? Besides bragging rights. And if you had Logi on kill mails, that's more intel that you can freely use, not only to be like a better player, but also just intel on the enemy as well.
There is a downside. If suddenly we were able to actually figure out who the really good logistics people were, they might be headshotted.
Yeah, and then like it also reflects on, part of the fight. So think of from the perspective of, when does somebody broadcast versus when they receive reps, or maybe they didn't receive reps, and you can see when they started taking damage versus when they actually died and versus when they actually broadcast. You can also see like it's very easy if you ever, like Rocket was talking about spies. If you want to spy in a group and you don't want to do anything important, just send a Logi ship and like keep your cap chain up and like just anchor. Like that's all you do. Don't rep anyone. Don't do anything. And then if you're that guy, right, like you're spying and not really doing anything, just relaying comms, then it's going to be very noticeable when you are not on any kill mails, right? Or maybe you are in a kill mail, but it shows like your healing power and it's absolutely nothing.
Right. So you dig them out. They can't hide there anymore.
Yeah. They have
But
to actually put in work.
I thought you were a frigate pilot with the, what's it called? The Kestrel. No, not the Kestrel. The Tristan. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my low sex
Hold on a second.
thing. I have like 600 kill mails in the Tristan and low sec.
Funny enough, I thought of you when I got this in the mail. It just showed up one day.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's getting not actually. I don't know if you could see that.
Yeah, no, that's super cute.
It's partially green.
Do you like it?
That's pretty baller, dude.
Yeah, but it's funny. It's made out of a texture that it makes me want to eat it.
What?
I don't know. It just has like a kind of texture where I want to bite it, and I don't understand why. Just
Is it one of those things where it's like, is it made out of cake? Like,
looks
do you
like
want to try and
looks like Mexican
bite it on
candy.
camera?
I think.
Oh, yeah.
Or I have some kind of Kronos complex where I want to eat my little ships. All right, I'm getting weird. I think it's sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's nice to have you on, Rain. We should have you on more often.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming. One more time, challenge everyone to donate to the charity that Rain is working on this weekend for helping with disabled gaming, disabled gamers. Hopefully, Matterall links the link one more time for us for Rain. And thanks very much.
Yeah, and remember, if you make it to 5,000, Dominarch and Redline will shave their heads, so you guys should definitely donate.
Wow. Can we make him grow more hair instead? Actually, we don't have a picture of Redline, do we? Do we know what he looks like?
He got on camera a couple weekends ago, or a couple weeks ago on a Friday.
He's been a big shrouded mystery for us until then.
Yeah, I caught him on camera on that Friday for a bit.
Well, thanks for that reminder. Before we take off, Rain, your assessment on the war. Where are we on this thing?
Dude, it's all structure grind. It's going to be pretty dull, though. I think it's going to be... I know Billy was talking about it on Trash Talk Tuesday, and I haven't heard anything from the Imperium side, but it'll be interesting to see if 1DQ can be taken. And I don't mean from the perspective of people just like breaking the server perspective. I think that's kind of like a dumb argument. But more from the perspective of like, is, you know, trying to take the gate from T5Z into 1DQ or shooting jammers and then sinoing in. It'll be interesting to see how that all goes.
Caleb, defend yourself.
Well, I think it's funny because it's somewhere between really saying it's easy and the Imperium saying it's impossible. So maybe we should just find a middle ground and say maybe it's just really, really hard. And I keep saying I think it's going to be very expensive for both sides. And I'm expecting to see a lot of Titans being completely wasted and dying before that thing falls, because it is not just 1DQ, 1 keep star. We're talking 1DQ, 5 keep stars set up with forts and everything. And it's like, it's a horror show to work that thing, even though it really says that it's easy. Because, yeah.
I don't remember him saying
it's going to be costly. Well, he did actually do that.
To quote Caleb, Delve has fallen.
This is true. It's now a demolition derby or something. It's like today's agenda is take down that keep star and that keep star and that keep star. What's on for tomorrow? 3 more keep stars.
You act like
I was just hanging on your every word. I was just waiting to see what you were going to say next, Caleb. Just waiting on your every word.
I'm not allowed to be shit poster on TIS. You're gonna have to wait until Tuesday, or you're gonna have to actually drop in on us and push to talk on Saturday.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, so just before we go, Matterall, I'm sitting here struggling to answer the same question. Like, what's my favorite change? And I actually had to think about it. I don't know if I could have answered it even being put on the
Sorry, I didn't
spot.
think it was a hard one, but go ahead.
No, yeah, well, it's all right. These things happen. I can now
Wendell
answer
goes
it, though.
first, and then you.
Here's my answer. The changes to the Caldari dreadnoughts, the Phoenix, bring back the glory of the Phoenix from the flames. The Phoenix is rising again to rain down, no, not rain chocolate, but to just rain down missiles upon the enemy at a feverish pace. There's my favorite change lately.
Okay, good. Caleb?
Well, I will just say, as a veteran, I love it when there's these massive hailbacks to something that was discussed almost millennia ago. And formations have actually got posts from at least back to 2004. Just saying. That's how long we've been discussing formations in EVE Online. And the fact that the CCP Signal has actually brought it to the game is amazing. And I think it's very exciting. I know that it's not massively important, but I suspect it's going to be eventually. There's these small things underneath the hood and things that Hilmer said and all that stuff with things like collision and occlusion and line of sight and all that stuff that they do want to do, but technically they just need to take small steps towards that, right?
Yep.
And of course there's the one that I keep banging on about that I'm hoping is actually going to be demonstrated soon, which is the whole spectator mode and the audience stands thing for things like tournaments. I really hope that this is about to become a thing we have Anger Games coming up soon, and there's always tournaments happening. And of course, Rain is a little bit of an expert. I would just love to be able to sit there in the spectator stands and look at fights and potentially gamble on them.
Watch while she is commentating, right? That would be fantastic. Like live watch,
Exactly.
Not just on a stream, but in the game, in the client, with Rain commentating. I think that would be fantastic, or whoever the commentator is. Have you guys talked about at all, or are you saving it these quality of life, quality of play changes that they announced?
We did a whole reaction stream earlier. I think
Okay.
it's going to be edited and put up, and it will be available on YouTube very soon.
Excellent.
Another thing that I think is also worth mentioning when it comes to the spectator mode, I don't know how technically feasible it is. I know that they experimented with putting feed and live video feed into the actual game client. So that would potentially mean that we could sit on the spectator stands, actually look at a screen and on the actual field, and on the screen could be the spectators like Rain and Sutonia actually commentating on the action. That would be neat. Mind-blowing.
That would be neat.
Yeah, Nick Bison says, Caleb, you could host a market trade show in spectator mode.
I don't think that's a spectator sport, really.
It's definitely a blood sport.
Blood sport, yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for showing up today. I'd like to thank our guest, Rocket X, and of course, Rain's here. Rundle. Clatour, our guest, because it's St. Patrick's Day today.
Token Irish guy.
Irish. It happens to me all the time. And of course, Caleb sitting in with us, even though it's like a super, crazy time in Europe. But
it's 2 a.m. It's fine.
It's not bad. Thank you guys very much for. Hold on a second. We're getting a last minute message here. Let's see. Okay, it's a message from Snuff. I want to destroyer. Matterall. Tell Rocket anchor a Keepstar in EUTZ and we will fight him at 700. No problem. This game isn't worth alarm clocking for, and we're all too old for that. So there it is. Response from Snuff, who's glad that he's watching the show too. We'll have Haiwantu on sometime soon, like we had Rocket X on today. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll find a raid for you, and we will see you tomorrow on Talking in Stations.